we'll begin the service.
This is Andy Tube, and this is part 9, Let It Shine, the next part in my Coco Goes to the Spa series. And Let It Shine, I'm talking about light. The light on Coco. Now, this light has actually been kind of upgraded from the original incandescent light that you usually find, and it's marketed as more of a white light instead of a yellow light, and it's 15 watt, and that's what was in the machine when I bought it, and the seller kind of bragged about it. But what I want to do is put an LED light into Coco that's going to use about 1/3 or less of that wattage and put out a lot more light, and it stays cool. I do live in Arizona, and it gets hot here. Everything you heard is true. The hottest temperature I've ever experienced in the summer is 122 degrees Fahrenheit. But, and I have air conditioning and stuff, but one time my wife had taken on a project of tablecloths and was doing quite a bit of sewing, and it wasn't hard, but it was kind of long, so she had the TV on. But one thing that she noticed was, it gets hot under here. And what I did back then was I found an LED light bulb. It cost me $20 back then, plus shipping. And it came a few days later and put it in, and wow, did she like it. So ever since then, when I restore and sell a machine, I usually install an LED and show it to the customer, and if they don't like it, I say, I'll put the old light back in, but I've never had that, and I give them the old light as a backup and tell them, when this LED wears out like 30, 40 years from now, you can put the old one back in. but anyway, let's get started, and I'll show you the difference here. And I took some pictures so I could put up slides, to kind of show the difference and stuff. But you already put this back on if you've been following the series. But this is the light lampshade, and there's 2 light lampshade screws. So we'll just take those off and pull the shade out, because what I found is when I go to an LED light, I have to modify the shade, and I'll explain that here in a moment. But let's take these 2 screws out, and I'll show you how to do that. What it is there's this focusing lens in there that's attached to the light lampshade that helps focus the light here, and it's they call it a blue glass. But there you see it with that, and it is pretty thick, and it's got what I call this kind of bubble here that kind of magnifies the light or something. But when you put in an LED, because of the way it is, this thick glass and the way it's formed, it casts shadows all over the bed of the machine, and they're very annoying. So what I found is just to remove the lens here, and there is a lens clamp and screw right back here. So I just loosen that screw and I don't take it all the way out, but you got to loosen it a little bit more than you think to get that thick glass out from under. And that screw can be as stubborn as any other screw on a vintage machine. So there we go. So we'll put that aside, and then I always just leave the screw and the clamp fastened to the shade, so I figure I'm less likely to lose it that way. And then here is the supposedly new and improved model. Wonder if I have any of the old ones here. Yeah, here's more of the original size, and I think they're like 5 or 7 watt up to 15, and the original kind of yellow. This was supposed to be an improved one, the guy said, that puts out more of a white light. And I've seen this is frosted, I've seen them clear, but anyway, they put out some heat. So to take this out, I'm just going to gently push it against the spring. It doesn't go far, and then twist it away from me to line up the retention pins, and then it pulls right out. And then let me show you the LED here. And I'm excited that I found a new seller. I found a new source for LED, and her bulbs are terrific. Her LED bulbs are terrific. And I emailed back and forth with her a little bit about it. And she's been selling a lot of them, and I'll explain why I like it. But I bought 4 of them because her price was the best I've ever seen. And each one they all came in a big padded bubble wrap envelope, and then each one was individually packaged with more protection and a note from her and instructions, in case you've never done it, and very good instructions about how to change it. And this seller also happens to specialize in featherweight restoration and parts and stuff, and that's how she got into this. She was as frustrated with me as buying bad or LED bulbs that wouldn't work, that when she finally found a good supplier, she just ordered a bunch of them and started selling them herself. So they all come in this little cardboard box, and this was new. This one, each one has a separate little Ziploc bag. I had not seen that before. But this part, if you've never seen these, is like silicone, and I'm hoping that you can see all the little LED emitters in there. And this is 104, and I've seen them from like 16 little LED emitters up to, I think, 120 maybe. But this is the most compact 104 LED that I've seen. And I thought maybe she sent me like the 64 LED. But she doesn't even have those on her website. But I actually counted the LEDs, and it's 104. And what's very sweet about this is the whole thing is this base. There's 2 reasons I really like what she sells. One is this smooth base. You see how it's very much like the original incandescent bulbs here. There's no flange around here. It's just smooth. And it's well made, and the silicone is in there tight. And I love that it's compact. Now she sells it mainly for people with the featherweight. And I don't know the featherweight. Maybe it has a smaller area for bulb mounting. But this is smaller than many of the 104 LEDs that I bought in the past. So I like that I can buy this and use it on several different machines. 301, 401, 403, 404, the Rocketeers. I tried it on all of those because I have them in my possession, and they all fit and worked great in it. Let me show you some of the duds I bought. What did I do with those? Here's some of the duds I bought. And you got to remember, all these were specifically advertised as fitting the model of Singer that I wanted to use it on. And a couple of them I even wrote to the manufacturer. One was in China, and yeah, they'll fit, no problem. So I ordered like 8, and they took 2.5 months to get here, and none of them worked, and then they started falling apart, so lesson learned there. And I think that's the kind of problem that this seller, Suzanne, had, and why she, finally found a better source and just bought them and sells them on her eBay site. But here's a couple of the duds that I purchased over the years. This was a 64 emitter, 64 LED, and it's flanged. It was advertised that it would fit my Singer 404, and it would fit like in here, but that flange prevented it from going in far enough and letting the pins lock in and turn. So that wasn't any good. And then here was a 104 LED, and you see how it's got this bumped out area right here compared to the one that Suzanne sells, that's smooth and just transitions right into the silicone. It doesn't have all this. And this one was a similar problem, and that it won't go in far enough. And on top of that, and I was pretty gentle with it, but on top of that, it just came right apart anyway. There's like 2 little wire pins for the electricity that goes into a little circuit board in here. And this was one of the worst fiascos. I paid about 14 or 15 bucks for it. Didn't notice that the circuit board is all exposed. Unlike this better made one, the circuit board is down inside, and you see how much smaller and shorter Suzanne's is. So I'm very excited to find this store on eBay and communicate with Suzanne, and I will post her website at the end of the video, and I'll put a link to her website in the description under the video, so there's a couple ways to look at it. But this one fits perfectly, just goes right in like any other bulb, and the pins lock, you turn it towards you, and we're in. And let me go back to the way I was to show you the other one, and you can see this LED. Pretty bright, huh? Whee! Okay, so let's get our cover back on here, and minus the focusing lens, right? And I'll get my light lampshade screws back in here. What's funny is for the last few years, I see a lot of those glass lenses for sale on eBay for all like 9 or 10 bucks. And I thought, boy, there's sure a lot of those. I wonder, I wonder what happened to the machine or the lampshade or whatever. And I finally figured out. I think a lot of people are replacing the light bulb with these LEDs and realizing that, they take this out and they thought, well, hey, maybe I can sell it, But anyway, now let's take a look at it. Here we go. Whew. So let me get some of my packing materials and stuff out of here. And I took some slides, to show this better too. I don't know if I can. Well, I'm on the tripod now, so I don't think I can. But it looks washed out in the camera, but when you're standing here looking at it like me, it doesn't do that. It looks great. So I'll show you the slides for it and stuff. So anyway, for me, $10, it's a very good investment. And the white light is just like more pure, and it's easy to see what you're doing down here, and it's a more even light. And like I said, everybody who's ever bought one of my machines, when I show them, they're like, oh no, leave that in. And all of my wife's machines, I put the LED in now, they're just great. So that is a recommended upgrade on my part. And Suzanne's website is called FOXY Finds for You. And again, I'll put it here at the end of the video, and I'll put a link that you can click on in the description below the video. And she mentions in the note that she provided, it's one side is instructions about the best way to change the bulb, and the other she talks about that they have a personal collection of featherweight and So Handy machines, and they've got the Red S, and they have some of the 222K machines, and they're going to just sell them complete, all authentic, clean, lubricated, fully functional. And Suzanne Earnhardt and Ralph Earnhardt, and so you can contact them. You can go to their eBay site, and contact them there, and you can look at the bulbs that they sell, and anything else that they sell. They have other stuff for sale, on their eBay site. But I am happy to find a $10 or $11 104 LED bulb that just fits perfect, and it's compact. So I think maybe this would be able to be used in some of my other machines that I do, like 337, 347, 338, 513, 457, that has that kind of drop down spring. I think this bulb is compact enough to go in there. So hey. So I'm going to show a slideshow now of kind of the before and after pictures for comparison, and Suzanne's store on eBay and stuff. And that's going to wrap up then part 9, Let It Shine, of Coco Goes to the Spa. So I hope you enjoyed that. And part 10, coming up next, part 10 of the Coco Goes to the Spa series is Slippery When Wet. So I hope you'll stop by and take a look at that video when I get it up and posted. And thank you for coming to my website, AndyTube. I really appreciate it, and I think it's worth your time most times. So take care. We'll see you for part 10.